In fact, or indeed, we should also consider that many of the cars carry less than 5 people, so that number is even higher than just 10. Okay? Now let's take a look. Another way of putting forward an argument without being too dogmatic. Dogma here means that you have an opinion and you do not accept that other opinions could be correct. Alright? It's saying that only what you say is right and no one else is right. This is a fatal mistake in argument in general. I'm not talking about IELTS now, I'm talking arguments. If you present your idea as if it's the only thing out there, while it's not, this means that you are very close-minded, and this also means that you, close-minded, cannot look at a subject from many points of view. Right? This also means that you will not be able to justify your opinion because you have not considered why others would consider your point wrong. So you say that buses are better than cars, full stop. Okay? You have not thought about someone else who might say, no, cars are better than buses. And when you don't consider his opinion, you will not be able to answer his doubts, all right? Answer his doubt and say that, yes, buses are better because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right? That way, you will not be able to support your argument with facts, and your argument will be weak. Okay? So never be too dogmatic. Try to say that yes, there are other opinions that are against me, and this is why I consider them to be wrong. Right? Is to admit there are arguments that differ from your own. Okay? Linking words and expressions such as while, although, despite the fact that, are useful in doing this. Despite the fact that a car emits less smoke than a bus, and then continue. Also adverbs such as admittedly, a car emits less pollution than a bus, however, 1, 2, 3, 4, certainly, etc. can be used. Look at the following arguments for and against some well-known topics. Okay, we have a topic, TV and children. Okay, some people say educational programs and safe babysitting, and against that, so people say that yes, televisions are good because there are educational programs, and people who are against say that there are adverts or advertisements that are targeted at children. And of course there's too much violence in these movies and so on. Okay, so you can use these words on top here to link those two arguments together. Okay, let's say that you are against television. So you can write this. I'm just going to write it on top. Admittedly, all right, television or contains educational programs. So admittedly, the television contains educational programs. Or, of course, programs can be written in two ways. Alright? Make sure to choose one way and stick to it. Alright? Don't write programs and then programs and so on. Just say the television contains educational programs that help educate children at a young age. Okay. However, okay, adverts or the air waves are plagued, okay? I hope that you have learned your English from the previous sessions because I'm using many expressions that I have already taught you. So the areas are plagued with advertisements that are directed to children and violent movies. Alright? So here's the text. Alright, I'm just going to write it here. So, admittedly, the television contains educational programs that help educate children at a young age. However, the airwaves are plagued. Okay? Plagued means that there are many diseases, which are the advertisements that are directed to children and violence. Then you explain. Most of the advertisements or most of the commercials, don't have to say advertisements twice, that are for toys or for new mobile phones are designed so that they appeal to children, and this makes them more susceptible to consumerism. Consumerism is a culture of having to consume over and over and over again. Consumerism. Alright? This also helps, or this also makes children not happy until they have something new. Okay? Children of today are only happy because they have bought a new mobile, a new toy, maybe they have something else. They're not happy because they have learned a new instrument or because they know a new language. Okay? This is consumerism. Of course, that's another topic for another day, but this is one of the points. Let's take a look at women working versus staying at home. So let's say that we are against women staying at home. They should go to work every day. They should have their own, shall we say, they should have their own life and their own career, okay? So that they can understand or they can know themselves and so on. Okay. So when they stay at home, or let's say that we are for women working against staying at home. So if we are with women working, we see that we can have children benefit from nurseries and daycare. Okay? So there is an alternative to mothers, okay, which means that mothers can learn to or can go and have a job while the children have the care they need from professional nannies and caretakers in nurseries and daycare centers. But against this, people say that young children must be with their mothers. So, let's say that I'm against women working. Then I'd say, even though children can benefit from nurseries and daycare if their mothers choose to go to a certain job every day, young children need to be with their mothers, okay, regardless of, need to be with their mothers because they are biologically linked, and for a safe and perfect, or shall we say, loving upbringing, okay, young children must feel their mothers nearby. The same thing are too many cars in cities. Build more roads or more car users. What's the cause of too many cars in cities? Are there few roads, or we have too many car users? So we say that maybe despite the fact that building more roads can help with the traffic jams in the city, okay, I argue, or I firmly believe that there are too many car users, and that public transportation must be more public. Okay? So this is concessions. What about refuting an argument, saying that it's incorrect, that it's completely wrong? Okay? This is not like concession here. Concession means, okay, this is right, but, but refuting an argument, refuting here means prove wrong. Okay? To prove wrong. To refute is to prove wrong. So you say that Some people believe that maybe space exploration is useless and it's a waste of money. However, okay, or it is unjustifiable to say that, okay, this one, because in the International Space Station there is a lot of research being done that helps advance science much more than anything that could be done on Earth. Maybe. Or you can say, I am unconvinced that money spent on space research is wasting money. I don't believe that. This is simple. It's hard to accept that. Maybe this one, I'm not sure if it's very good, but okay. There's little evidence to support the argument or the assumption, maybe. Okay, the assumption. Okay, or the idea, maybe. So there is little evidence to support the assumption that that tax is a waste of people's money. Maybe. Okay. See if you can express a view on the following topics by rejecting the first argument and then asserting the second argument. Right? I don't believe that politicians should be paid high salaries. They are simply employed to do a job like anybody else. So politicians should not be paid a high salary. Okay? Should be paid high salaries? No, I don't believe that. The internet is a useful resource for children, too much uncensored material. Okay? It is hard to accept that the internet, okay, is a useful resource for children. Indeed, there is too much uncensored material online that can harm children if it's unregulated or if they are not watched carefully. Running is good for you, many physical injuries. Okay, there is little evidence, or it is unjustifiable to say that running is good for you. Okay, since too many physical injuries can come from that, and there are much better alternatives like exercising in a gym. Gambling should be banned. Okay, gambling means to bet money on something. All right. Some people like to play poker, blackjack, and these other casino games. Okay, and in our countries they are banned for religious reasons, of course, but outside they're not, which is why this is presented here. Some people say that gambling should not be banned, so they say, I don't believe that gambling should be banned because it presents a useful revenue in tax. Okay? Whatever you win, if you win or lose or anything, you pay tax to the country, and this means that there is more income. No? So this is refuting an argument. This is saying that something is absolutely wrong, okay, and proving why by saying your own argument. Okay? Rephrasing, or in other ways paraphrasing, is to repeat what you have just said. Of course not repeat, but to explain. Let's get back to the example about buses and cars. Buses are much better for the environment than cars. That is to say, the amount of emissions from a single bus, okay, is much less than that of 50 cars, which is the amount of cars required to transport the same number of people as that of the bus. Okay, so here you are explaining that one bus is equal to 50 cars in travel, but it's much less than that in emissions. By this I mean, okay, I don't like this expression, to be honest. Okay, try not to use these. Maybe in spoken, but not here. In other words, this is perfect. This is very good. Okay, just going to try that square something nicer. Okay, this one. Okay. In other words, or let's see if there's something else here. That is to say, okay, that's good. To be more precise, okay. Here I'm referring to maybe. This is also a good one. But these three expressions should be enough. Let's add another sentence to the following argument using an expression from the above. In my opinion, extended families are more successful than nuclear families. An extended family is when you have more than just the parents and the children in a home. So in a single house, you can have the mother and the father, and maybe an uncle or another relative. Okay? Nuclear families are simply families that only consist of the father and the mother and the children, nothing else. So in my opinion, extended families are more than nuclear families. In other words, houses that have an additional relative in them, okay, tend to be quieter and more serene. Serene is peaceful. I believe that the feed has been cut for a moment here. Just wait for a moment. It is often said that young people are more tolerant than old people. Tolerant here means to accept someone who is different. Okay? There is in politics, someone came and said what we are doing in restaurants is absolutely wrong, and fast food restaurants should be completely removed. Okay? Or someone who comes the other way and says, no, traditional restaurants are much better than fast food restaurants, and fast food restaurants must be banned. Okay? So we accept his opinion. We say, okay, we have to think about it, but he's wrong because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright? Of course, if we are intolerant, we would say, okay, you are wrong, get out of our country. Okay? So, tolerance. Anyway, it is often said that young people are more tolerant than old people. Indeed, as the more you ask young people, and then you can present an example. This fast food restaurant, you can say that if, in other words, or that is to say, young children are more accepting of different styles of food than older people who have been nurtured or have always been used to certain types of food and nothing else. Okay, what else? I am convinced that an element of choice is important in the school curriculum. Job commitment is not always the key to success. Okay, you can explain all of these points in your own method by saying these words. Maybe you can say one of these sentences are a bit too general. Okay. For example, this one could be the answer to a question that says, the question for task 2 actually is, what are the main causes of success? Alright? Of course, now you're saying success in work, and job commitment is not always the key to success, but rather if you like your job. Okay? Let's just get back here to take a look at this. Alright? This is a review. We want to take a look at someone's opinion and see if we can change it. If we can change it so that it can remove all the dogma, at the same time present concessions or refutations or, shall we say, rephrasing, this piece can be much better. But let's see. Read the following introduction to an IELTS question on the topic examinations serve no useful purpose. So this is the topic. Exams are useless. And identify the writer's techniques in explaining his or her argument. Let's see what techniques are here. First, he said, I am convinced that examinations have a positive influence on learning. So this is, he is stating his opinion here. Opinion. Alright, so this is his opinion written at the very top, okay, to explain his point of view. And by that, I mean, okay, now he's rephrasing, that they lead to a better grasp of the subject. Now he's rephrasing. What else? Which is essential in areas such as medicine. While I don't. Here we have another one. While I admit that they can create undue pressure on students and can cause stress-related conditions, okay, he will definitely mention a point that refutes this point here. I would argue that these problems can be largely avoided if the approach to examinations is handled effectively by those concerned. So, all of this is a concession, and then what I like to refer to as counter-argument. Alright? A counter-argument is to say that, okay, I agree that exams cause stress, but then you present a counter-argument by saying that this stress can be avoided if we understand, or if the approach to exams in and of themselves is handled effectively by those concerned. So we have to teach the children how to approach exams in a much relaxed manner, or we have to make sure that the teachers treat the exams as a friendly thing rather than today is the day where you are insulted. Okay? I think we have a proverb in Arabic that says يوم الامتحان يكرم المرء أو يهان. Okay? This is a very terrible proverb in my opinion, because exams should not offend or should not be a mean to insult me. Overall, students are motivated by examinations, and this motivation can only benefit them. So if we can use exams to motivate children, they will definitely be positive. I'm just going to do this. So how strong are the writer's views? Very strong. Why? Because he said that he is convinced. He presented an argument that is very convincing, but then he said why it's wrong. How would you develop this argument? How can we advance it even more? You can say an example. So, my friend was in medicine school, or maybe I have a friend that studied in a master's degree, and one of the subjects he didn't have an exam on. Okay? There was no exam on that subject. He didn't learn anything of that subject because he didn't study well. So the exams can be used as a method to encourage students to learn, all right? To be motivated to learn the subject by heart. All right? Let's take a look at developing this argument. Let's take a closer look. Okay? This is a student's essay on why people commit crimes. All right? Now, of course, there may be many reasons. All right? Let's see what the student here has written. I don't really agree. Now, he said his opinion here. I don't agree that we should try to understand why someone has committed a crime. We should not try to understand. Okay? I think criminals should be punished, and that's it. It isn't fair on the victim, by the way, it's to the victim, fair to the victim. Alright? In addition, I would like to comment that most criminals know what they're doing when they commit a crime. There are too many crimes these days. I don't think there were many in the past. Now, the main argument is we should not understand why people commit a crime, I think. Where is the supporting argument? Criminals must be punished, no? Most criminals know what they're doing, maybe that's the supporting argument. The problem is that there is no cohesion, okay? There is no, the second sentence does not explain why criminals must be punished or why we should not understand crimes, okay? Okay, most criminals commit crimes and they know what they're doing, and then so on and so on, and they commit a crime. But still, why? Why do they commit crimes? We don't know. We have to understand why people commit crimes, Okay? Even if the criminals commit crimes while knowing it, we have to still understand why they commit crimes while knowing it. Alright? This is the problem with the paragraph. He has stated something we should not try to understand, and then he didn't give a good reason. Okay? If we understand crimes, will something bad happen? Okay? Why people commit crimes? So this is one of the arguments that are not very cohesive. Let's take a look at a different essay. I would always support, this one is good, I would always support any attempt to foster greater community spirit among neighbors. Okay? So try to help community spirit among neighbors. Why? He's going to explain. Clearly, they can be very supportive towards one another in very practical ways. Younger neighbors can assist those that are more elderly. Or people can do things for each other when they go on holiday. Of course, this is not about the crime. It's about should we attempt to make better communities between neighbors? Alright? Yes. Why? Because if we do, they will help each other more. And example, the younger people will help those who are elderly, who are very old, senile. Okay? Or people, let's say I'm going on a vacation and I want someone to take care of my cat. Right? I can give it to my neighbor, right? And she will be very supportive, and she will be very careful to take good care of my cat if we are good or if we have a good community spirit. Or people can do things on holiday like checking the mail. Regrettably though, many of us nowadays, now he is saying the negative points of not having a community. Or, sorry, regrettably though, many of us nowadays are simply too busy to make the effort, and it's not unknown for people to go for months without ever speaking to a neighbor. Then he's giving an example of how this situation is tragic. I live in a block of flats myself, and of the 4 households on my floor, I've only met 1 occupant. So the question is establishing good relations with a neighbor important? Okay. Are good relations with neighbors important? Are good relations with neighbors important? Just excuse me for a moment. Are good relations with neighbors important? What about the main and supporting arguments? Now let's take a look at the main arguments. The first one, or the first sentences. Okay. Any attempt to foster greater community spirit among neighbors? Okay. Just a moment. Okay. Is accepted or is supported by him. Alright? Then, the supporting arguments, they can be very supportive towards one another, very practical ways. And then he is giving examples. Of course, there are other negative examples that also support the point. Okay? So saying that regrettably though, many of us nowadays are simply too busy. This is a supporting argument. So what type of support? We have first rephrasing or explanation. Okay, maybe in some examples. Here, there is an example, and I have only met 1 other occupant in the last 4 months. Alright? So here are the main and supporting arguments. It's how you link the main argument or the supporting argument to the main argument, to the main one. You have to give an example for what you have just said in the very same paragraph. There has to be a sequence of thoughts. Here are linking statements. If you take a look at the other type here, clearly they can be very supportive, or they can say indeed and so on. Let's see. For example, okay. For instance also means for example. maybe a good example of this is, okay, maybe you can have indeed. Indeed is when you rephrase or write or give supporting evidence. Doesn't have to be examples, but indeed. Like here. In fact, it can be written instead of clearly here. Okay? Indeed, they can be very supportive towards one another, and so on. Okay? So, indeed, and of course, and clearly are very good. If this was the case, okay, if this was the case, you are talking about what would happen if the statement you have mentioned was, shall say, not exactly correct. So, uniforms are not bad for children. If this was the case, schools would have removed them a long time ago. Firstly, secondly, lastly, naturally, now you are talking about something that everyone agrees upon, okay, and use it to explain why your point is correct. And in my experience, you are just saying an example here, and let me illustrate is not good. Okay, let's just move, let me illustrate. Okay, try not to use anything that has let's and you and so on. Okay, next. Remember, it's important to try and vary the words and structures. If you keep saying indeed over and over and over again, you are likely to lose marks for this. Okay?